Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Welcome back. We're on session 4 of 5 sessions of the essential induction that we all need to get under our belts in the beginning so that we've got the skills initially to get this wonderful vehicle that we've chosen, which is Forever. We've got the skills to get that on the road. So, obviously, if you're here in week 4, you've been through the other 3 sessions before this, and you would have heard me introduce myself a bit on session 1. So let's just crack on and get started. Following on, obviously on session 3, all these sessions link, and following on from last week, what we're going to do now is just add more tips and techniques so that you can keep adding to your skill set, which means, as I say, you'll be able to get your business going. Some of this we'll recap and we'll re-mention the important bits just so that, repetition, they say, is the mother of all skills. So it means that it goes in. So we're going to talk about prospecting. Last session, we talked about contacting people, whether it's via text, via phone, messaging them. I never do email, by the way, too long, laborious. It's snail mail. So it's always direct contact, grabbing somebody's attention. And we spoke about that last week. So now we're going to talk about, once we understand how to contact people, and again, we need to profile them, we'll talk about that as well, then we can go on to actually sitting down and getting some information in front of people. So remember, you are now in show business, we're not in tell business. Even now, after 9.5 years later, I wouldn't be satisfied just telling somebody about the business, because there's Forever is not one-dimensional and there's a lot on offer here. So do remember, you are in show business, and people hear the music before they hear the words. Now, what does that really mean? If you think about it like this, let's say you turn on the radio and there's a song on there, and you've maybe heard it once or twice, you're humming away to it, and so there you go, you're humming away to the tune, you don't quite know all the words yet, but you're locked into it, and at some point, if you keep hearing it, obviously you will know the words, but people really do hear the music before they get all the words. So what does that mean to us in our business? First of all, there's a couple of things that it means. We need to be authentically us. So you need to be you, I need to be me. When I was first new in the business, I used to look at successful people like Jane Leach and Andy Waring and Adam May and think, oh, if only I could show the business like they do, if only I could say the words they said. Of course, we can learn words off other people and scripts. However, I very quickly got that it's the authentic me that people buy into, not not me trying to be somebody else. So be you, but don't make yourself the issue. Remember, this is all about the prospect. If you look at the bottom of the screen there, what's in it for me? That's what's running through our head whenever we're presented with anything. And remember, last week we talked about that automatic filter we've got, that subconscious filter. My brain would just fry and explode if we took in every single bit of information we came across. And so we have this subconscious filter where we're thinking, well, what's in it for me? Am I going to listen? Of course, when you're showing the business to people, you want them to listen, don't you? So you are the courier, you're not the package. Forever is the package, you're the courier. So although we are there and we are in control, I don't mean control in a negative way, we are running this show. We want it to be about the prospect. We want to show the prospect what's in it for them. So what is your part in the show? First of all, you need to have good posture. Posture, if we're talking about in everyday language, having good posture would be standing up straight and tall, etc. It's a bit like that metaphorically in your business. You need to have good, strong posture, i.e. support the decision that you've made in starting your own business with Forever, because you made a really good decision. Your posture, your business posture has to be such that somebody's not going to blow you over with the first gust of wind when they say something that, that they don't agree with about the business, or one of your friends says, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. You've got to have a posture that's strong enough for that. Now, don't think that having a good posture is something that comes with being in the business ever such a long time. I know people in the business, a few weeks in the business, they have got great business posture. They're absolutely sure and respectful of the decision they've made is the right one, and they want to get out there and show it to people. I know people in the business quite a while still haven't got a strong posture. They're working on getting there. So we need to have good, strong business acumen, posture skills, and a relevant approach. So what does a relevant approach mean? Well, let's say you're going to meet somebody, they work in an office, they're coming, and they're going to meet you straight after work. They're more than likely going to be in, formal, smart clothing. You don't have to go in a suit if that's not you, but you do need to be professional at all times, but smart. So a bit more corporate if you're meeting a corporate person. If you're going down the gym, you've made an appointment to show the business or the products, whatever, to a personal trainer, somebody who's working there, you can hazard a good guess that they're going to be in their gym clothes. Now, it doesn't mean you have to match them and go in your tracky bottoms. I wouldn't say do that, but be a bit more casual. Still smart, still professional, but casual. Choose an appropriate venue. I'm sure there's nobody would choose a greasy spoon cafe. We're a $1 billion organisation. We need to be able to show people this in an appropriate place. Always check out, if you're going to do one-to-ones local to where you live, always check out the venues for the best time of day when it's pretty quiet and you can be heard, you can speak to each other. I know lots of people say, I do most of my one-to-ones in Costa Coffee. Depending on where you're sitting or how big the joint is, it can be tremendously noisy. Personally, there's a hotel not just about 5 minutes away from where we live, the Trafalgar Court. I use that in the summer. It's quite a small hotel, but it's got a beautiful terrace outside, overlooking the gardens, lovely manicured lawns, palm trees, and then it looks out to sea. So it's a really nice venue to relax in and have people relax when they get there. Now, you might not live in a coastal village, you might live in a town, but I bet you've got a better choice than if you do live in a town or near a town. You've probably got a better choice than we have of some really nice swanky hotels. Make sure that the information that you're showing the person is relevant and is brief. Now, I don't just mean a couple of moments, but I mean, you don't want to be there if your one-to-one is lasting longer than about 35, 40 minutes with them asking lots of questions, you're way too long. You're giving them too much information. We'll look at what that means in a moment. Fully understand why they are there. Remember, if you don't know why somebody is there, how are you going to show them what's relevant? Now, we spoke about this in the session 3. It's about forming people, and we'll look at that again just as a recap, so that you can understand what is it that's making them want to make some changes. Why do they want to have a look at forever? It says on the bottom there, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. We don't need to overcomplicate this business. We do need to use tools rather than just show. And again, we'll look at those tools in a second. What about your prospect? What is their part in the show? Because this is not one-way traffic. You have a business with forever. You are looking for people who want to also have a business with forever, but they're going to be part of your team, and you need a standard. So your prospect needs to show up open-minded and looking to make some changes. They need to be ready, get there on time, relevant, and with a great attitude. Display the traits that you're seeking rather, and so that they meet your standards. We spoke about that in session 2. Pick the top 10 characteristics that you want to see in people. They need to fully articulate why they're there, whether it's positive or negative. So what I mean by that, somebody in a positive vein might go, do you know what, I love holidays. I don't mind working some more if I can save up some money and have great holidays. Bit of a positive statement there. Somebody might, using the same example of a holiday, it might come across negatively in the fact that, I never get to go on holiday. I get some time off work, can't afford to go away, haven't had a holiday for 7 years. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as they can articulate the areas that they want to make some changes. They need to be willing to listen, learn, evaluate the information, take some action. Remember, our role, spoke about this in the last couple of sessions, our role is to collect a decision. Show some information, get a decision at the end of that. Now, in this instance, in the one-to-one, they may need to go on to further information. We're going to look at how you structure your information. So remember, you're looking for people that meet your standard. If somebody turns up, they're late, then not, they haven't made an effort in looking good, You keep looking over your shoulder to see what the person at the next table is doing. You go to the toilet halfway through the presentation, and I've had that happen in the early days. Do you know what? Realistically, that's not the type of person you're looking to work with. Now then, as the people who are watching this, unless you're established in the business and you're going through this to see what it is your new people have gone through, if you're watching this and you're new in the business, we spoke on the last 2-3 sessions about majoring in your warm market on your way to manager. So you generally will have a better quality of person at the beginning in your warm market, and it's people that you know, obviously. Now then, understand the numbers. Somebody said to me when I first got started, this is a numbers game, and I have to admit I was a bit uncomfortable with that because I very much care about people, and I'm sure you do too. So when they said it's a numbers game, I thought, I don't know about that. However, I got to learn it actually is a numbers game, and the odds are stacked in my favour, in your favour, in our favour. So what does that really mean? Well, we've spoke about, again, on the sessions that you've already been through, and your sponsor will have sat down and gone through this with you. We spoke about building up your database, your list of contacts, people that you know. And rather than that database just being a list of names and numbers, we need to turn those names and numbers into real people. And we do that by profiling them. Again, we spoke about that on session 3. So it asks there, how can you affect this? You can affect this by making sure that you profile people before you speak to them. You pick the relevant way to get in contact with them. So for example, when we were first in the business, we didn't have all the online technology that there is now, and some of that might be hard to understand. To show somebody the business, we either sat down with them and went through a one-to-one presentation, or because we didn't have any online DVDs or videos or anything like that, we actually physically had to put one in the post and send it to them if they lived in a different part of the country. I mean, it's laughable now. So we can affect this by making sure that we are speaking to people that we know in a manner that we would normally, respectfully, finding out what possibly could be in this for them by finding out why, and making sure that we profile these people so they feel that we are genuinely talking to them. We're not just doing a round robin and running through a long laundry list of names and numbers. So warm market stats. This is generally, now it might not be this for your first month or two. You may need to work at it and get skilled to bring your stats in, but this is kind of general when you're working in your warm market. Contact 12 people. Roughly 50% of them, i.e. 6, will show some interest in having a look. Now, it doesn't mean they're all going to join, or that we can go ahead and look. Out of those 6, approximately 3 will take it a bit more seriously. They'll think, I need to investigate this further. And out of those 3, 1 or 2 will join your team. So in your first month, that might not be the case, but if you're working with your sponsor and they're helping you, it very, very much can be the case. Tools of the trade. Now, we mentioned that, I said we've been in the business over 9 years, and I still wouldn't be happy that I'd give forever, that I'd done justice forever just by telling somebody about the business. In fact, I don't tell people about the business because I was taught years ago I'm in show business, and that's what I've always done. And the minute somebody shows some interest, we have a chat. Again, we spoke about this on previous sessions, and this person is in the market for change, then I invite them to sit down with me either in person or online, because I want to show them what's on offer. So there's lots of ways we can do that, and we spoke about this in the last session. Find your preferred way, what works for you. Personally, the Your Future DVD is what I came into the business on the back of. So I've had a lot of success with that over the years. Is it because it was my route into the business? I don't know. However, I have to say that living down here in Cornwall, sometimes I might be in a part of the county where we haven't got internet. So, I might not be able to show them something online. You can go to Forever Knowledge and download the one-to-one presentation, and I've got it in iBooks on my iPad, and you don't need the internet for that. Now, I'm not really technical, so I'm not going to talk any further about it. A friend showed us how to do it. So remember, we can sit down with them, we can have a recruitment brochure, we can send them to a website perhaps initially. Personally, I don't do that. I prefer to have a conversation with somebody and show them some information. If they're not really very local to us, I'm going to show them something online and follow them up, as I said on last session, certainly within 48 hours. So make sure that you have a method that you're comfortable with. Think about how you came into the business. Perhaps that's a great route for you to use. But at this stage, you're working very closely. If you're not frontline to us, you're working very closely with your sponsor and their line manager. That may be us, it may not. But just make sure that you get familiar with what's on offer. Snapshots and layer cakes. What the heck is this all about? And what has it got to do with your business? You know, just a couple of screens ago, I spoke about showing people some brief information. First of all, when we have got somebody who's interested in looking at some information, what we need to do is make a time to sit down with them. It might be in person, it might be online. And we're going to our role, if you like. And again, we spoke about this 2 sessions ago. We talked about getting ourselves familiar with the company, developing our knowledge within the company, within the industry, around the products, obviously the marketing plan and business, and more importantly, in ourselves. So our role, if you like, at this stage is to educate people on what's on offer. Seriously, all those years ago when I was looking around for a business, obviously the industry we're in is network marketing. If you'd said that to me like 10 and a half, 12 years ago, I would have thought, well, I'll tell you what I thought it was. I thought network marketing was a breakfast meeting where you went and had a bacon sandwich and swapped cards with other people in business. So I definitely needed educating on what this industry is about as I was looking at information. And that's how I see my role now. You know, our job, if you like, is not to just shove somebody in front of something, you know, a video or, you know, some sort of presentation and hope that they miraculously get it, because they won't. It's about educating them that there is another way. Remember, a lot of the times we're talking to somebody, all right, sometimes we might be talking to somebody who's in business already, a different type of business to this, or perhaps somebody who's been self-employed before, but the majority of time we are talking to people who have a job mindset. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a job mindset, because when you have a job, that's what we have. So with people who are not familiar with business, it's about a bit of re-education, taking them away from their job mindset and showing them that there is other options, there is another way. So it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. We need to be able to understand why they want to make the changes that they want to make, and then we need to build up a picture, and that's where the snapshots comes in. You know, we're building up a picture of what Forever could give them, where they could take it, what they could do with it. You know, if you think about the jigsaw analogy, if I give you a jigsaw now and said, let's say it's this, I don't know, 1,000-piece jigsaw, and I say to you, there you go, crack on and get that, start putting that together. And I'm really sorry, I've lost the lid, so there's no picture, but I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. Probably not, would you? 1,000-piece jigsaw, you could at some point, but you'd probably be there forever and a day, and it wouldn't really be enjoyable. So remember, when we're showing somebody the business, it's not life or death. We want to, especially when you're working with very closely with one market, you want to make it a nice experience, even if this business isn't for them. So we want to think about the information we're going to give them. You know, if you give people too little information, they give up trying to understand. If you give them too much, ditto, they give up trying to understand. And it's a bit like that when somebody has joined a business. You know, in the first 90 days of your new team members' life in FLP, it's a bit like an embryotic stage. They're doing a lot of learning and growing, as you are now. And we need to have timely information so that we feel that we're making progress, that we're moving ahead. So the snapshot built up a vision of what they can get with Forever around their why. Okay. Now the layer cake, what's that all about? And again, what's it got to do with your business? Well, if you think about it this way, you're going to make a cake. So let's start at the left-hand side of the screen there. You've made your mixture for some sponge. You've got your 2 sponge cakes there that you intend to put some cream and jam in and put them together. That might be the end of your cake. That might be all you want at this particular time. Or you might go ahead and put some icing on it and, you know, some sprinkles. You might want to make it into a celebration cake for somebody. You may want to go on with quite a bit. You know, so what you're actually doing here is you're building up the layers. So texture and taste and different aspects to the cake. It's a series of steps. Assembling that cake is a series of steps. And that's the same with showing the business. You know, the thing is, you couldn't just knock that cake up in its entirety and put it in the oven. It wouldn't work. And it's the same like that with your prospect. Remember, too little information, they're going to be confused. They're not going to know really, they're not going to get it. Too much information, they're equally going to be confused. And I guarantee a confused person generally doesn't make a decision. Well, 99.9% of the time they're not going to make a decision if they're confused, and I'm sure you understand that. They're probably going to say, oh, I'll think about it, or oh, I'll give you a ring next week, or oh, I'm going home to talk to the dog about it. They make some excuse. Now you can tell the difference between this confused excuse and somebody who goes, actually, Kathy, you know what, this looks really good, and I want to take some information home with this because I'd love to sit down with, let's say, Fred's the husband. I'd love to sit down with Fred so I can show Fred all about this, and I think he'd be as excited as I am. That's different. Or you might have somebody after your one-to-one go, this is great, I love it, I can see this, this and this, but you know what, I want more information. I've got questions, I want more information. Great, answer the questions and get them onto a BP, whether it's online or in person. That's a business presentation. Now, I figure that if you're here at session 4, you've either been to a BP before you joined the business, or you've seen one online, or that might have happened after you got your box. So that's a bit about layering up. What makes a good one-to-one? Now, I would encourage you afterwards, when you finish this session, or even now, to just make some notes about what does make a good one-to-one. And I know I'm just going to come up with a few things, but I know you'll probably be able to add more to it, because let's face it, if you're here now, and you are, you've been through this process with the person who sponsored you, and they must have done a good one-to-one because you got excited and joined. So you'll be able to draw on that experience. So first of all, we've already mentioned this, you need to look the part. Think about looking professional, but not OTT. Let's say you're going to see your best friend, you know, you've been mates for years, and you turn up in a suit. She's going to go, or he's going to go, wow, if that's not your normal attire. So look the part. Always professional. You might be suited and booted, or you might be casual, but think about the impression that you're giving people, even the people that you know. Smile, be enthusiastic, make eye contact, ask them questions, get them talking. Remember, you are showing the business, but you want to involve them in it, because again, if let's say I sat down with you today and I spoke non-stop for 30 minutes, you'll have switched off 10, 15 minutes into that. Now, again, you have to be careful in the fact that if you're going to ask some questions and you need to, relevant points, that you don't let the person run away with the conversation. And that can happen. It happened to me a lot in the early days. But at the appropriate time, for example, if I'm showing somebody, I'm going through a presentation and we get to a bit about the marketing plan. I don't go through the marketing plan. It's too confusing at this stage when somebody's not in the business. It confused me for 6 months I was in the business. So, but let's say somebody says to me they're looking for full-time income. When I get to the relevant part in the information, and I speak about building a manager-sized business, I'll say to them, now, let's say it's Fred. I'll say, Fred, I know that you said to me you're looking for around about £1,500 to £2,000 a month. Is that right? Fred will go, yes, great. Is it going to make a big difference? Fred goes, yeah, of course it is. Great, let me show you this. Most people get to manager within 6 months, and I'm going to go through that. That's what I mean about asking questions. Make sure you're on time. In fact, when you go to a one-to-one, don't be on time, be early. Because you need to suss out seats somewhere. Obviously, you know the venue because you've arranged to meet your prospect there, your friend or whatever there, but you need to sort out somewhere that's going to be relevant for you to show them some information and so that you can both be heard. We spoke about the venue. Make it a nice venue. There's lots of hotels. You can get a coffee. You can sit in the lobby. Most of them have Wi-Fi, or you might have somewhere favourite close to you, like I do. Have enough props. So, for example, what do I mean by props? Well, let's say your internet fails, so you need to have a business brochure. The international directory is fabulous to show people the magnitude, the size of the business, especially people who are in business who are corporate. They're quite interested were very interested in the size of the corporation. If you've not yet seen the international directory, you can, when you order your products, if you look under literature, you can get it there. And it's also a great tool for yourself so you can understand. It lists the contact details and address and photographs of all the head offices around the world. So obviously you're prospecting outside of the country you live in, you need it anyway. It goes into the resorts division, it shows all the property that Forever has. So things like the business brochure, the international directory I've just spoke about. I have a success magazine, can take a Forever magazine. Now I'm not going to unload all of these onto the table and confuse the person. I'm going to have a couple that's appropriate. Take an incentive brochure, show people what's on offer. It's not just an income, there's lots of other things like car plan and global rally, chairman's bonus, eagle manager, etc. So make sure you have the props. Be timely in the fact that, as I said, if your one-to-one goes on much past 35, 40 minutes maximum, so you've had your introduction, a bit of chat at the beginning, you've had some questions at the end, if it's going on much longer than that, there's too much information there. And I say that with a smile on my face because in the beginning, my one-to-ones were so long. I actually used to sponsor out of them. I've got no idea now when I look back in horror, because most people, I'm sure, were falling asleep. I do know why I sponsored so much in the early days, and I still sponsor now on a monthly basis. I was so enthusiastic, and I knew what I was talking about. And the fact that I had been shown, and I practiced and practiced and practiced with real live people, so that I could get good at showing the business. And remember, when we understand that it's got to be about them, what's in it for them, then this process becomes much more smoother. And also, you know what I said before, this is not life and death. Making a really good half an hour out with your friends, bring them for some cake and coffee. Don't get into social chat with your mates before this. Say to them, let's have a look at this business, we'll catch up afterwards, but I want to do justice and I want you to have a fair crack of the whip and see what's on offer. So we're just going to have a recap. The last session, in fact, the last couple of sessions, we've touched on form and what it stands for. You know, this form in conversation. F is for family home life, O for occupation work life, R is for recreation stroke hobbies, M is the message that we have. Danny Johnson's audio script book's on the screen there. If you go to the book and CD pod on here, on Global Choices Training portal, you'll be able to find all the materials that I've mentioned. You'll be able to find them and get them for yourself. That script book I mentioned last week, I've had probably 3 or 4 in my career. They're dropping to bits. I actually don't use it now, but I still have one. It's got lots of highlights in it and lots of stars. And the reason I don't use it now is because I know that script off by heart. And again, we spoke about scripts and the importance of them on session 3. So a little recap on form. Remember, you've been having these formal conversations all your life. You bump into your friend, how you doing, how's work, how's the family, what you been up to lately. So remember, when all those things are in play, we have a message to get out if it's appropriate. So for example, I bump into Fred. Fred's just come up on the lottery and he's moving to Paradise tomorrow. He doesn't need me to bang on about Forever Living, does he? I would, in that instance, I'd be asking for an invite to his Paradise Island. I would be celebrating with him. But you're speaking, let's say somebody else is speaking to Bob, and Bob's not very happy with their work. In fact, he's really fed up and he's working too many hours and not enough money. He hardly gets to see the kids. He has some hobbies like golf, which he never gets to play now. It's going to be appropriate if Fred has given me all those red flags and thrown hand grenades out that he's dissatisfied. It's going to be appropriate for me to deliver a short message like, Bob, I'd love to show you what I'm doing. Let's make a time to sit down so I can show you. Remember, show biz, not tell business. What's Bob going to say? He's going to come up with a natural human reaction and say, oh, tell us what it's about now. What's this all about? Remember, we spoke about this in sessions 2 and 3, and we've talked a lot about this on the Power Hour, which I continually mention. The Power Hour, you'll know, is a 5-week series which is run live, and we do lots of how-tos at the time on there. So Fred says to me, well, what's it all about? And I'll say, you know what, Fred, Let's say I'm speaking to Fred and he's at work. I'll say it's not the time or the place, I'm in a tearing hurry. But listen, if we can set aside 15, 20 minutes, I can show you what's on offer, because it's not a flat screen. There's a lot more on offer. However, it could be a good way for you to look at getting some extra income. And in fact, if you want to replace your career, I can show you that option too. So remember, my message is piquing Bob's interest and then inviting him to sit down with me either in person or online so I can show him some information. So we spoke about this previously. Form helps you find why. Remember, when you're asking those questions, people will come up with the things that are dissatisfied. It could be lots of things. It might be finances. It's easy forward to imagine that everybody wants extra money, but you know what? That's not always the case. They might have a job that pays really, really well, but they've got no time with their family. Perhaps somebody their family is grown and they want, more security, where getting the kids through university, or it might be moving to a bigger property, it might be having a holiday because they never get time with their family. Personal development is a big one, I find. Pension funds, depending, on the age of the person you're talking to, or simply having a car that doesn't break down and that is new. There's so many people who never had a new car. It's quite shocking. But you can show them, remember, it's not just about finances. So that foreman is going to help you find their why. And of course, we absolutely need to know why somebody's sitting in front of her, or why they're on the other end of the screen when we're talking to them. Because we all know this, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So for example, this was quite a while ago, somebody said to me, I'm really excited, I've got some one-to-ones booked. I said, tell me about, who you're seeing and when and what. We had a chat about that. And the very first person that they mentioned, they gave me a brief profile, and I said, okay, then why are they looking at the business? This person said to me, I think it's for more money. Oh dear, that one-to-one's probably not going to go very well. We can't think or assume or presume. We need to know why that person wants to have a look at something, why they want to make some changes. Because let's say it's a person who's in their 50s, they're worried about their pension, and I'm talking to them and I'm banging on about new car and holidays. They've probably been there, seen it and done it. Or equally, if I'm talking to somebody new and I start talking about pensions and how great the royalty income is, this young person's thinking, what's she on? What sort of planet is she on? So remember, you need to be appropriate. You only be appropriate with highlighting parts of the business if you know their why. Again, we've looked at this previously. Let's recap. You bump into people, you've been doing it all your life. How's your wife? How's your husband? How's your other half? How's the kids, the cat, the dog, the budgie? What's up with work? Are you still there? Are you still happy? These are just a few questions. I love the third one there, when I'm talking to somebody, and if they've been moaning a lot, I say to them, well, can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? And most people go, are you kidding me? But what else is there? Great, that's an appropriate time for me to give them my message. I'd love to show you what I'm doing. And they say, well, what's it all about? And I go, we need to get together for 20 minutes and do that online, or let's have a coffee, tomorrow or the next day. I can show you what it's all about, because it's more than one thing on offer here, and I want to make sure that I get that, give you a fair crack of the whip. So I'm talking to somebody who's young and financially hungry and ambitious. Would you be interested in earning more money this year than last year? Most people go, yeah, but how does that work? Asking people about the holidays. The amount of times when I say to people, what you got planned for your holidays, they go, not much, probably I'm having a staycation because we never get away, Ask them about their hobbies. Are they still getting out doing golf, walking, fishing, skiing, etc.? Remember, these are forming questions, and even if you weren't in forever, you'd be asking questions like this. You just wouldn't be doing anything with the information. Can opener questions. I really love can opener questions, and you don't need many, and you don't need to use them all at once. Just remember that. But let's say you're talking to somebody who's already got a great business head on their shoulders, whether they're running a business for somebody else or themselves, or they're in a senior company corporate position. How would you like to put all, I could say to Fred, if that's Fred, how would you like to put all your experience, your people skills, your business knowledge, acumen, your knowledge, how would you like that to put to work for yourself so you could earn a great income? Or I might say, have you thought about putting that into something for yourself so you can have a great income and be in control. I might be talking to somebody else about, if let's say I'm talking to Susie. Susie, let's say she's a young mum at home. She had a good job, but she's not working now because she's bringing up the children. So her husband's doing a lot of extra work so they can keep food on the table. If there was a way I could show you how to earn a great income around the children, would you want to know more? Or I might be talking to a good friend who I know is saying, I've got credit card debt, the car payment, etc. If I can show you if I can show you a way to get out of debt around what you're currently doing without compromising that, would you want to know more? What about somebody who's really stressed? Would you like to have a stress-free way, or would you like to lessen the stress in your life while making a great income but having much more time for yourself? It's very attractive, isn't it? If somebody's stressed and they've got no time, we can offer to show them a way where they can make that. They can make the vehicle that forever is their full-time occupation, if you like, their full-time career. And we've already spoke about this. A great one is, can you see yourself doing what you're doing now for the rest of your life? And most people will say no. Again, we've covered the 5 solid goal questions, and I would encourage you to get the book. It's some people prefer to read, some people prefer the audio. Personally, I prefer both. This is about asking somebody their priority. So I'm talking to Fred. Fred, what's your number 1 priority for the rest of 2016? Fred goes, do you know what, Kathy? I need to find something else because I'm not earning enough money. I definitely would love to have a holiday with let's say Mary's his wife, with Mary and the kids before then. And it would be good to have to be able to afford a great Christmas. Let's say he's come up with 3. I'm going to ask him, because people often come up with more than 1 priority, unless you show them a list and they pick one off it. So if I'm talking to somebody and I haven't got a list, and Fred's given me 3 priorities there, and I'll say, which is the most important then? And he might go, do you know what, desperate for a holiday, but can't afford it. We'll give him, why did you pick that one? Well, and Fred's got to go on to explain, well, do you know what, we haven't had a holiday for about 5 years. In fact, my youngest hasn't even been abroad yet because we've never been able to afford to get away other than just for a couple of odd days. And do you know what, we're so stressed lately and there's so much angst going on at work. I would just love to be able to clock off, even if it was only for a week. I would just love to have a holiday and take the family away. I'm going to ask number 3. It's a bit like, I'm going to hear pretty much the same as what Fred said for number 2. Why is that important to you? Fred's probably thinking, God, I've not just told you that. He's going to reiterate why it's important. They're stressed. They don't get any time together. The kids haven't been abroad. They haven't been away for 5 years. The reason that I've set it out like that is question 1, 2 and 3, you take them up. You're taking them up towards what they want, what's more important, what's a priority for them, what could happen. Questions 4 and 5, you're going to take them down a bit. Fred's just taught me all the reasons for wanting to take the family on holiday, and I'll say, well, do you know what, Fred, what's the consequences of not being able to do that? Fred's going to go a bit down. I'm not doing it to slap him in the face. I want him to stop and think, nothing changes unless I change. So what are the consequences of not being able to take the family on holiday, Fred? Well, there's another year. So Fred says to me, there's another year where we haven't been away. I just can't see the point in working this hard and not even being able to. Fred's going to go on a 1 at this stage, all right? Or let's say it wasn't a holiday. Let's say it was something bigger or different to a holiday. Let's say it was putting the kids in private school, education. And Fred's taught me why that's important. And I'll say, what's the consequences of not being able to do that for your children? Fred's going to be really like, wow. No, I would feel I'd let them down. I would be disappointed. I haven't given them the best start with their education, etc., etc. So when I've asked Fred what's the consequences, then I'm going to ask the question, would it worry you? Step back if somebody wants to bat you on the head. Well, of course it would worry us, Kathy. I've just said I want to look after my family to the best of my ability or on for the kids to school. So questions 1, 2 and 3, remember you're taking them up towards what we want. Questions 4 and 5, you're having them stop and question. Do you know what? If I don't do anything, now I'm not saying forever's going to be the answer for everybody because we know it's not, but it does make them think if I don't make some changes, nothing's going to change. Learn to love questions. When I'm showing somebody the business, if they haven't got any questions afterwards, or they've only got 1 question, say like, one, maybe it's two. They haven't really taken it all in. If they've got no questions, they're probably not very interested, are they? So if somebody has got questions, we learn to love them because it means they've taken this information in and they're processing it. That's why they've got questions, and that signifies somebody's intrigued or interested or piqued. In the beginning, how do you feel when prospects ask questions? I think in the beginning, I did, and perhaps most of us think, oh, what if they ask something I don't know? So what are the most common questions? And is there a difference between a question and an objection? First of all, personally, for me, questions, there's not really an objection. An objection would be if somebody goes, oh, Kathy, I absolutely disagree. Never darken my door again. That, in my mind, is an objection. So I don't think there's any objections to the business. They're only unanswered questions. And there isn't a lot. And do you know what? If somebody asked me a question in the early days or even now, doesn't matter what we're talking about, to do with business or products, if somebody asks me a question, I don't know the answer, or I'm unsure, or I want to check, well, I'd say to them, do you know what, that's a great question. And I'm not 100% sure, or I don't know the answer at this moment in time, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to get right back to you within the next 24 hours. So if you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer. But common questions, people will say at the end of a one-to-one, well, what exactly, would I be doing each day? Or how do I get paid? So, is that weekly or is it monthly? How does that work? Or what about training? Where do I go for that? Or how does the training work? Or, how many hours would I be expected to do, etc., etc. There's only really 4 or 5 questions that will ever come up in your career. Somebody may ask them in numerous ways, so they seem to have a lot of questions, but there's not that many. It's usually about what time do they have to put in, what's the next step, how do they get started, what about training, how do we get paid, what would they be doing? So remember, somebody might just want a small retail business, getting familiar with the products and building up a customer base. Somebody wants a full-time income on a part-time basis, getting good at showing the business, having some customers, using the products, having some customers, getting good at showing the business, getting skilled in that area to share the option with other people and building a team. Somebody wants a huge, big 6-figure income. It's the same as it's team building, but taking advantage of the fact that we're global. So there isn't really, in my mind, objections. An objection would be a pure, get out of my way. I'm not interested. I've never had anything like that. But I do get lots of questions, and I love it when somebody's asking questions because we're then having a dialogue. We're working it out, what's important, what is in this for them. Feel, felt, found. You may have heard of this before, you may not, but we're going to have a look at that in just a second. So remember, love questions. There's not that many. You can probably think of the questions that you come up with and know that you're going to get them. So they were answered to your satisfaction. That's why you're here. You can do the same for somebody else. You might, in the very early days, prefer to sit down if your business mentor, your business coach is local, and sit down and see them do a one-to-one or have them do a one-to-one with you, okay, for you. Feel, felt, found, what's that about? This is a great technique, but you have to, when you use it, it has to be from a very genuine perspective. So what do I mean by that? I don't mean that we would purposely mislead our prospects, but to get past any what you perceive as an objection or an area that somebody needs clarifying, you can use feel, felt, found in coming from your genuine standpoint. So, for example, in the early days, or even now, if somebody said to me, oh, I don't think I'll be able to do this because I've never been in sales before. Well, I actually could identify with them. And this is very similar to identification. Now, remember identification. My background was nursing. Let's say I'm talking with somebody who's a nurse or they work in the health service in another part of the health service. I can identify we've got a like-for-like background. I'm not a plumber, but one of my good friends in the business is a plumber. So I can use that for identification if I'm talking to a plumber. let's say I'm talking to somebody about the business, and I know that they've got their own plumbing company or the work as a plumber, and I can say to them, my friend Stephen, a good friend of mine in the business, he's been in the business quite a few years now. He actually had a very similar background to yourself. He's a plumber, and he had his own company, but he found he was working forever and a day, and he was stressed and never getting any time off. And he found that once he got started with the business, it freed up more time, and in fact, he got to the point where he sold his company and is now self-sufficient in the business. But let's say this person says to me, I'm not able to do this because I've never been in sales. I can genuinely say to them, remember, my background was nursing. Fred, I know how you feel. Do you know, I felt that way at the beginning. However, once I got started, I found that some of the most successful people in the company didn't come from that sort of background anyway, or I might say didn't come from a sales background anyway. Let's say somebody is, I don't know, a young mum at home, and they go, I don't think I'll be able to do this. I've never had a business before. Guess what? You know what, Susie, I know how you feel. I felt that way too. I said to you, or you know very well that my background was as a nurse in the health service. However, what I found once I got started is some of the most successful people, some of the biggest businesses within Forever, they didn't have any business experience either. In fact, most people didn't. And remember, we've got all the backup and the training and support that we need. So that's a bit about feel, felt, found. Let's just move on. One of the best techniques when you're giving somebody a brief overview about the business, remember Fred might say to me, well, what's it about? And I could pick a couple of these things. I wouldn't pick all 5 on the screen. I'd pick a couple, so let's say Fred's pushing us, come on, Kathy, what's it all about? I said, well, you know what? We're an established company. We trade around the globe. We're a privately owned organisation, and the company helps people have their own business on a part-time flexible basis, building up a career. That might be my 60-second overview that we spoke about last week. But when you're actually talking about the facts, there is some undisputable facts, obviously, about the company, but we need to know how to turn a fact into a benefit to the person who's listening to us or who's sitting down with us. So, for example, and how you do this is you use the so what test. Let's say I say to you, Fred, and this is true, isn't it? It's a fact. Forever's an established 38-year-old company. Your filter, your what's in it for me filter, is thinking, so what? So I'm going to turn that fact, Forever's a 38-year-old company, into a benefit. So what that means is we've got a proven marketplace for you to step into right from day one. So that's a benefit to you. Let's say I say to you another fact, Forever's a privately owned family company. You're thinking, so what? What's that got to do with me? What this means is, Fred, right from day one, when you get started, you're going to have great stability and security for yourself and for your own business. Forever's cash rich and debt free, that's another fact. So what? What that means is, Fred, when you get paid each month, along with all the other Forever business owners, you're first in line because the company doesn't have any creditors. So again, a lot of security. We have the Investor in People Award. So what? What that means is we've got recognised training and support, first-class recognised training and support in place to ensure that you are successful. We'll help you every step of the way. So again, these are benefits, trading in 158 countries. So what? Do you know, I live in Southend. What's that got to do with me? Well, this means you're not geographically nor financially restricted just to having a local business where you live. Remember, if you had a traditional business, you would. And what that means is you can decide how much you want to earn. Do you want a little local business? Do you want a national business? Do you want a global business? We've got the infrastructure in place to make that happen along with yourself. So remember, it says at the bottom there, the person who signs their paycheck controls their life. Shouldn't that person be you? And that's what you've got with Forever. When I came across Forever and I got my head around it and I got to understand more about the industry and how the company Forever works, I realised that this was the only time in my life running a Forever business. It's the only time in my life that I've been in complete control over the outcome of my income. And that means you are too. So, screen is ticking. Emotion versus logic. What does this mean? You know, when you're showing somebody the business, when they come to make a decision, it's weighted more towards emotionally. What can they see in it for them? Now, I'm not going into colour personalities now. That's on another part of this site. And when you understand about colour personalities, there is some people who are very, very logical. But even if somebody's logical, if you can show them, sure, a logical person wants to understand things and process, but they still need to be tied into what's in the business for them. So our logical self makes decisions based on rational data, you know, facts and figures. The emotional part of our brain, which is the right-hand side of the brain there, it's all about how we feel. You know, even if Fred is very logical and likes facts and figures, and I've shown him a way that he can put Johnny and Freddie, his two young boys, into private school, that's going to be an emotional feel for him when I say, how would you feel when you get both Johnny and Freddie into private school, giving them that great start? He's not going to process that logically, he's going to feel it. So what does this mean to your business? It means that you need to understand that some people will definitely want lots of facts and figures. That wasn't me. I need to know I don't need to know all those big things behind. I need to know, what do I do? How do I learn it? How do I put it into practice? But in among all that, I'm in the business because I saw something in it for me. You're in the business because you saw something in it for you. So we need to understand that people, I certainly didn't, and I'd probably hazard a guess that you didn't, wake up one morning, jump out of bed and go, guess what? I know what I need in my life. I need some aloe. There's a distinct lack of aloe in my life. You didn't come up with any rational thought like that, even though it's random, forgive me. And you started looking to make some changes because on the right side of your brain, there was something there that you wanted to feel better in certain situations or feel better about life. That's why we're all in the business. But sure, remember, some people are definitely facts and figures people. And you'll learn about that in colour personalities. Okay, then what holds forever business owners back? If you break down the word fear, we've got F, false, E for evidence, A for appearing, R for real. False evidence appearing real. You know, what does that mean? It means, crikey, we can make up all sorts of objections in our head before we even pick up the phone or sit down and show somebody the information, because we can be thinking about, all sorts of things. Will I know what to say? What will they think of me? And you know, the thing is, there's a couple of ways to lessen fear, but one of the ways in the beginning to think about this is, first of all, you're in this business with forever. That's how you're on here now. So you thought this was a good idea, a good option, and there's a lot of mileage in it. So therefore, you can show other people around you that same thing. What about, if you think about it this way, you came into the business, you know it's a good decision, you know that even if you're brand new, there's evidence around you that the company's working, so you can rest assured that you can show people success, even if you're only a week into the business or a month into the business or in fact a day into the business. So it generally is, we make up these things in our head and they appear real and they're not really. And what are these sorts of things that we make up in our head? Well, we've looked at fear, false evidence appearing real, and we're going to compare it with fact, full and complete truth. So, we might have this inner critic, and we all have one, sitting on our shoulder at times. I suggest that, and I know that you'll see this throughout the team, we do a lot of work with Dave O'Connor, with his webinars and recommending his book and his videos, because he's Dave O'Connor. If you've not come across him yet, look him up. There's videos on here with Dave, but he's a tremendous mindset coach. So let's say we're in our fear instead of our fact position, and we're thinking, I can't do that. If we look at the fact, you know what? We can turn it around and say, yes, I can do this. I've got my business coach working with this. I've got the company behind us, and I think Forever's a great company, and I know other people will think the same. Oh, I don't know that it'll work for me. Yes, I can make it work for me. I need to put the time and effort in and I need to learn some skills, but yes, I can make this work for me. Oh, I don't have the discipline. Think about it. There's times in your life when you've been very disciplined. And if you have a why, and it is a strong emotional why, you will find the route to discipline. Now, that doesn't mean being hard on yourself. It just means being consistent, putting the time and the effort that your business deserves. I don't have the ability. Yes, I do have the ability, because we can say to ourselves, do you know what? I don't have experience of this, but I have the ability to learn if somebody's prepared to show me. Oh, I'm too old to learn anything. We're never too old. The minute we stop learning, well, we're slowly and surely just dissipating. So it's not about where you are, where you've been in your life up to now and what you've done. It's where you are now and where you want to go. Thinking about other people that won't be interested, turn it around. I know there'll be people who are interested in what I've got my hands on. I absolutely know it. What if I get rejected? Remember, you are the courier, you're not the package. When somebody says no to the business, it just means no, not for now. It's generally, in my experience, a timing issue. But think about it, working in your warm market, your friends aren't going to reject you personally. You're still going to be friends. Remember, make that sit down with them, having a cup and a coffee, a nice experience. People are not going to reject you, but they very well may say no to forever at this moment in time. Talking about fear, this is the antidote every single time. Action, getting up and doing something cures fear. Make a few notes of what you've done in the past when you've been a bit unsure or you've had to step out of your comfort zone. Ask yourself the question on the left-hand side of the screen there. What would you do if you absolutely knew for sure you couldn't fail? You could probably come up with a long list of stuff that you would do. And you know what? The thing is, I was taught in the business the only way, when I got started with Forever, I was taught that the only way to fail would be to give up and quit. I'm here 9.5 years later. Having the time of my life, I have to admit, I adore Forever with passion. So give yourself permission to do stuff that's out of the ordinary. You've got the backup and the support of us, heading up Global Choices, but obviously we're working with you because we sponsored you. But if not, you've got a sponsor and an upline manager, and you're still part of the team. We've got fantastic backup and support from the company, as you're probably finding out. So the minute you feel yourself paralysed, jump up and do the thing. Bite the head off the thing that scares you, and it just disappears. Now remember, in the early days, we all have this little inner critic whose voice seems stronger than the other side, and that's the bit about learning to work on your mindset. And definitely your business mentor, again, if it's not us, is going to help you with that. So we talked about prospecting. Where are all these prospects? Who can we talk to? Where are they hiding? They're actually not hiding, they're everywhere. They're people who are around us. They're people that we know, they're people that we've known in the past, they're people that we're just meeting. We talked about, again, a couple of sessions ago, about sifting, well, actually session 3, when we talked about the book Owning Yourself by Paula Pritchard. We talked about profiling in that, sifting and sorting. That's what we're doing. Remember, if I'm talking to Fred, I'm sifting through the information that he's relaying to me. Fred's just told us he's come up on the lottery and he's moving to paradise. Fred's actually self-selected himself out, but I've sorted him into a box. Not now. Fred's happy, Fred's excited, Fred's a millionaire. Fred, it's not the time to talk to him. Remember, these people aren't hiding, we just need to open up our eyes. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. Lovely, got a dry throat, we're coming towards the end, I can tell. So, your database, your friends list, your mobile phone, your Facebook, your Christmas card list, they're all people that you know. And if you sift and sort, you're going to find people in there who it's the right time for them to get started. We're back to the what's in it for me, your prospect. So your prospect has that filter, what's in it for me. You also have the same thing, what's in it for me. So remember, it's a two-way street. We're not begging people to get started in the business. We have a standard for the type of person we're looking for. We have characteristics, key characteristics that we want to see displayed in them. We also have good business posture. We're supporting our own best decision, which is getting started. So let's have a look at you're talking to your friend or friend prospect, and they say, great, I want to get started. What's in it for you? A new assistant supervisor. Win-win. They're getting a business, they're going to get the support, you've got a new assistant supervisor. Your friend or prospect says, it looks a good company, but the business isn't for me. It's just not what I'm looking for, Kathy. However, I like the look of the products. Great. Your friend's going to get some real quality products, and perhaps they might have a problem that they're looking to address, and you're going to get a new customer. So there's something in it for them, there's something in it for you. Let's say your friend or your prospect says, it looks like a great company, it's not what I'm looking for. I'm not really that bothered about health, Ask me another time. They're not interested in either. Equally, great. Let them off a hook. Go for a referral. That generally, because they've turned you down, they're happy to help out. So make sure that when you are showing people the business, you're in work smart mode. You can market the products. I always say, and I coach people to do this, lead with the business. Because remember, nobody got up looking for it today because they had a distinct lack of aloe in their life. And if they're struggling to pay the rent or they've got no career progression, they can't relate the product to a solution to that. So lead with the business and you can mop up with the products. When somebody turns you down, show them the products. Okay? So it's about marketing your business conversationally, showing it to people, doing the same with the products. So in showing the business, you are actually marketing the products, because that's part of it, isn't it? Although we don't go in depth into the products. And then in showing the products to somebody, they go in, they're very happy with the products. A couple of months later, go back and market the business to them. Run your business in your team. Okay then, decide what you want. You need to know why you're in business. I'm sure you've got a couple of whys, but you know what? It's good that we expand on that. Decide what you want your 2 to 5 year plan to include. I always say to people, it doesn't take 2 years to earn money. Most people will get a manager, let's face it, these days within about 6 months, and they've got the option of a full-time income if they're building their business. So it doesn't take 2 years to earn any money, but you know what, most people within 2 years, their circumstances have altered for the better quite dramatically in some instances, and definitely they have it within 5 years. So have a 2 to 5 year plan. Let's face it, 5 years is only 60 months. And make sure you then go and work that plan on a daily basis. The business is about consistency. It is a simple business. We don't need to reinvent the wheel or make it any more complicated, because it is a simple business. Use the products, that goes without saying. And you and your team earn money by doing 2 activities, showing the business and showing the products. Split your time when you work in your business, whether you're part-time in the business, running around your job, or perhaps you're not working and you're putting all your efforts into your business. 70% of your time is spent on if you're here to grow a full-time income, 70% of your time is spent on frontline sponsoring, showing people the business, adding to your own front line. Then you can work deep. 25% of your time coaching, planning sessions, making sure people have got what they need. It may not even need to be as much as 25% of the time, because we've got some great systems on this training pod to take people through a sequence. 5% mopping up if there's any issues left at the end of your working time. When you're in your growing phase, what does that mean? Anytime you want to move up the marketing plan, obviously you need to sponsor your way to manager. You need a team to get to manager. We were coached to sponsor our way to soaring manager. And we sponsor. It's very rare that I don't sponsor on a monthly basis. I'm always adding to frontline. Sometimes I might do it more prolifically than others because I'm going for the next position on the marketing plan. So if you are going for manager, obviously you'll be sponsoring. Let's say you get to manager, you then want to help people become managers in your team. That's part of it, but you're still, as you're helping promote managers up through your ranks, you will still be adding to your front line. If you're full-time and forever, the general rule of thumb is in your growing phase, it might not be every month, but when you're having a growth spurt, 4 to 5 new assistant supervisors a month. And the most I sponsored in any 1 month was 10, and that was definitely when we were on our way of the marketing plan. Part-time, 1 or 2 assistant supervisors a month. This is if you're here to do more than just retail products to a small customer base. What will a 2 to 5 year plan give you? Well, it's more than just the money, but you know what? A good 2 to 5 year plan, working your way up the marketing plan. Soaring manager is a great position to get if you've got good manager legs within your team, strong manager legs. You can achieve financial security within a short space of time, 2 to 5 years. You can build a solid, well-built business. Last session we looked at the marketing plan and talked about the royalty income. You can free up time. You know, forever is not full-time, even though, so for example, I'm full-time in the business. All that means is I don't have another job. I just concentrate and focus on my business. However, I don't work anywhere near the hours I used to as a full-time nurse, which was around about 45 to 50 hours a week. I generally do around about 25 hours a week, 30 hours a week. Sometimes I might ramp that up if I know I'm going to disappear and have a few weeks off, or sometimes I might scale it down a bit if I've got other things on. You can definitely build up a fulfilling career and flexible working hours. You know, this business is about helping other people. You might be helping them with the products, you might be helping them with the business, but it's definitely a career path if that's what you're looking for. We have, I would say, first-class business and personal development. You know, on session 2, we talked about becoming familiar with the company, the industry, the products, and working on ourselves. This is a business about personal development. Your monthly check is in direct correlation with where you are with your business development, because the more you are developed within the business and the more skills you have in your toolkit, the more people you're going to be able to help in various situations. And it's a great way to make a difference. You know what, you might want to build a huge big organization and have people in somewhere in your downline in countries that you've never even stepped foot in, and this business has made a great difference to them, even though you didn't make that on a personal connection, but you have trained and developed and supported somebody who's gone on to do the same for somebody who's gone on to do the same, so you can make a big difference in a business such as Forever. Let's briefly just touch on the importance of a business presentation. Now, you might be in a part of the country where you've got one happening on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis. You might be in a part of the country where there isn't a local business presentation, so therefore you'll be familiar with an online business presentation that we have. But you know, the importance of the business presentation, even if you're doing it online or in person, is the fact that as a new Forever business owner, you repeatedly, each time you attend that business presentation, it's not a one-time show, it's a weekly or a fortnightly, it's your night in the office is what we call it. When you get yourself to the business presentation, whether it's online or whether it's in person in your locality, you're continually picking up company information, industry information, and product information. When you're more established in the business, you're there supporting your team. You can help other people, even if they're not in your team, with their guests, you know, because you're an ambassador of Forever. When you're established in the business, becoming involved, helping out with the speaking, doing testimonies, setting up the products, doing the section, you're stepping into that leadership role, and you're helping the business and the company grow in the area that you're in, which can only be good for you and your team. Okay, when it's a guest or a prospect coming, they're both the same thing, guests or prospect, you're taking them to the business presentation or you're taking them online to an online presentation so they can see the bigger picture. Obviously, if it's in person, they can identify one-on-one with people in the room, perhaps speakers or other guests or business owners they've met. They can hear testimonies. They can link their why to the company. You can help them do that. We can also do this online, you know, we have testimonies, so a guest can identify with somebody who's got a similar background, etc. So it's really important that if you have a business presentation, that you support it. And if you haven't got one in your locality, that you're attending a regular online one. Okay then, folks, we have come to the end, and I can tell because my throat's gone really scratchy now, so we must be nearly on 16 minutes now. What's your next step? Make some notes from today's session. You know, the bluntest of pencils outweighs the sharpest of minds, because most of the information we take in we think we'll remember forever in a day and we'll forget. But if you write it down, make some notes about what you got out of this session. And your next step is to watch Induction session 5. which is the last one of this series. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and have a great day. Bye.